everyone. We're here at the Public Library of Mount Vernon in Knox County in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. We have joining us today Deana and Brian Wolf, who are going to be sharing with us their experiences in the Chilean culture. So without further ado, we welcome Deana and Brian with us.
Again, we are Brian and Deana Wolf, and we are truly excited to be able to share with you today as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. We are originally from the United States, but we did live for 12 years in the country of Chile. In fact, we have 6 children. 2 of them were born in Chile, and we have a son-in-law who is also Chileno. So we've got a lot of experience in the Chilean culture, and we're excited to share how that has influenced who we are today.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm Deana, and like Brian said, we lived a little over 12 years in Chile. So Chile is the long, skinny country on the western edge of South America. It is bordered on the west by the Pacific Ocean. It is bordered on the east by Argentina, the north by Peru, and then there's a little sliver in the northeast corner of Chile bordered by Bolivia. Our experience is from living in the north. We lived principally in the 3rd and the 4th regions of Chile, which the Atacama Desert is there, so our experience is from there. The Atacama Desert is considered the driest desert in the world. The average rainfall is less than half an inch a year. So that allowed us to have unique experiences, especially we had been in Chile for 4 years, and we came back with our small children, and it rained like it does in the spring here in central Ohio. It was in May, and our children freaked out, thought that they were going to die. Everybody was going to die because it was raining. And so, in fact, we were walking across a parking lot. There was they have like a little mini flood going toward the little storm sewer, and our kids are like, oh, is that a river? So it's a unique experience living in the desert. It does allow you to have awesome weather. It's very temperate year-round. We had sun nearly every day. Temperatures were great. We did not get to experience the 4 seasons in as much stark contrast as we do here in central Ohio. Due to that, there are the clear skies over 300 days a year. So there's many observatories that dot the desert all through the 3rd and 4th region. There's a lot of governmental agencies, universities have a lot of contracts there, so there are many, many observatories. In the northern part of Chile, there's also mining, principally copper, iron ore, gold, and silver mines. That's their principal export. The climate is perfect for growing grapes. So in January and February, you'll see at Kroger here in Mount Vernon, Ohio even, grapes from Chile. So they do a lot of exportation of Chilean grapes, Chilean wine, as well as olives, avocado, and citrus fruits.
So when we arrived in Chile, me specifically, I knew less than 10 words in Spanish, which meant I had to spend a lot of time studying the culture and the language. And one of my favorite places to do that, practice my new language, was going to the farmer's market. So in Chile, one of the really cool things there is that they have a farmer's market 6 days a week, generally in a different section of the town, but 6 days a week you had access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And the really cool thing was, when you went to the farmer's market, you not only had great fruits and vegetables, but it was cheaper than going to the grocery store. And there you would get to know the local vendors, and there I was able to practice my Spanish and learn my numbers as we purchased fruits and vegetables. In addition, we were able to learn that actually Chile is sort of on the forefront on the food thing. So when we came back to the United States back in 2016, all of a sudden avocado toast was a big deal. But literally Chilenos have been eating avocado and bread for decades. And so it was cool to be part of that initial thing. And when we came back, to have that part of that culture here in the United States as well.
It was kind of a little taste of home.
It was.
Especially for our kids.
Yeah.
So another natural phenomenon that occurs frequently in Chile are earthquakes. So we, because we did grow up in the Midwest, it was interesting our first few experiences with earthquakes. One of our most memorable occurred though in September of 2015. we got to experience an 8.4 on the Richter scale, and that was really scary. So Brian was out, and he'll tell you his perspective, I think, in just a couple minutes. But I was home with the children, and part of our kids got immediately under a door frame at the front of our house, and myself and another child got in the door frame of our doorway. So my kids at the front of the house are screaming because they're watching the electric poles swinging, and the child that was with me, we're watching my chandelier in my dining room swinging, and it's a very loud experience, and the ground literally feels like waves. And so as soon as it began to settle down, obviously we kept having aftershocks after that for many, many days, but we lived on the hill in La Serena, Chile, so we could look out over the Pacific Ocean. Because of how the magnitude of this earthquake, then the tsunami alerts were going off, and we had helicopters, and they were evacuating the people who lived down near the coast to come up the hill. So we were able to house some friends. They came up and stayed with us in the dark and the no water, no nothing. But it was also a bonding time and a great opportunity within our neighborhood, because everybody was outside, everybody was terrified, and nobody really knew what was going on. So, but it also wound up really good. The Lord protected us, and we were safe and got through that.
Yeah, so to understand my perspective of that earthquake, so we had been having lots of problems with our car, and so I was driving, going on my way to visit with a friend, and we were going to do a Bible study together. And on my way there, I was early, so I'm like, hey, I'm just going to fill up the car with gas and take the back road to his house. So I fill up the car with gas, and I get on the back road, and all of a sudden, the car is like really wavy. And I'm thinking, man, this road's a lot worse than I remember. And then this kept getting stronger and stronger, and so I'm like, oh man, something's wrong with my car. Maybe I put bad gas into it. And so I pull over to the side of the road, and it's moving around. I'm putting my car in park and in neutral and revving the gas. Like, is this something with the engine? And I'm so focused on the car, I'm not watching anything that's going on around me. So after a couple minutes, it actually settles down, and so I get back on the road. And then when I turn onto the main road where there's lots of homes, then I see everybody out in the front of their houses on cell phones. I'm like, oh, that was an earthquake. And immediately tried to call Deana and the kids, and because everyone's on their cell phone,
Collapsed,
the thing is collapsed. But after maybe 10 minutes, I think one of the kids was able to get in touch with me to find out that everybody was okay. But yeah, it's a crazy experience.
It is a crazy experience.
It seems like you're literally walking on a wave.
Yes. Another experience that we got to live in Chile, you may or may not remember that there were 33 miners trapped in Copiapó, Chile in August of 2010, and we lived just a mere 2 hours south of there. So our Chilean pastor, he actually got to go into the camp and minister to several of the miners that were trapped underneath using the intercom system that they had been able to make contact, and they had an intercom system, and so he was able to minister to them, to a few of them during that time.
Yeah. So during that time, it actually had been, so these miners were trapped about a mile underground, and it had been 33 days before they were actually able to make their first contact. And it was really cool because it actually brought the country closer together, and it made Chile known throughout the world as people watched that from afar. And actually, one of the guys that was on the rig that helped get down to the miners was a U.S. citizen. And he tells a story that he had a trajectory that they had calculated that they thought would put them right where they needed to be, but they hit something that knocked them off the trajectory, and it actually ended up being in the exact spot where they needed to be after that deflection. And it was just really cool to see how the Lord protected those men underground for 33 days, even longer, because it took a while to get the capsule, or get a hole big enough to drop a capsule into. And so the capsule is about my size. We actually got to
we got to get in it.
Get in the one after the fact when it was on display in our city. But it was just amazing to see how God brought the country together as a result of that incident of the trapped miners.
It was nice. A few other cultural experiences that are a little bit different from here in the United States. There is public education there, and most people, if they don't have the resources, they use the public education system. If you have the resources, then they take advantage and go to private schooling. There are a myriad of private school options. Some are partly government subsidized and then you pay a portion. Some are fully privately paid for, by us as citizens or us as private individuals, and then the public system. We personally homeschooled in the town that we were in. We were in a very rural, small environment, and so we chose to homeschool our kids. But an interesting story with that, we lived directly across from a public high school. And in this particular year, which was fairly frequent though, but this particular year, it was a national strike. The students go on strike there. And the literal translation is to take the school. So they literally took the school. The students came in late in the middle of the night under cover of darkness, came in, and since we were literally across the street, we got to hear it all and watch it all. They took all of the chairs and tables out of their 3-level school and put them in the gates in the perimeter of the school all the way around. And they literally chained the doors, lock and chain, to keep people out. And surprisingly, the parents support this and wound up making a meal train and bringing the meals in for the students. And this lasted a very long time, that particular year. It lasted a long time. So the Wolf kids decided that they wanted to experience that part of the culture and chose to take out several chairs of our house and stick them in the gates of our house with banners and the whole 9 yards. Us retaining part of our U.S. culture, that did not last long for them. So they quickly went back to school. But anyway, that was just something that was different and neat, just to be able to witness it and to see it. Our kids do have a different view then on protesting because that is part of the Chilean culture. Like my son went to a Chilean preschool when he was 4, and literally they protested the clean water. Yeah. And so we had to make him a shirt and a banner, and they marched around the little square, the town square. So they learned it from a very young age. Another interesting aspect of the Chilean culture is their healthcare. If you have money, you can get very, very good healthcare there. If you don't, then you are part of the public health system. I have personal experience with both. We were in our new town, this rural town, and I didn't know it, but I was having a kidney stone, which was not a pleasant experience. But in order to see a doctor, after the initial emergency room, once the doctor releases you out of the ER, you go to get in line to be able to get an appointment with a doctor. So you literally wait hours in a line, because I did not know you get there hours early. You wait in a line hoping that the doctor still has an appointment that day. If he is out of appointments, then you go back home and you wait till the next day and try it again. Anyway, so I got an appointment, and then I had to sit and wait the next day. It was for the next day. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And so by the time I saw the doctor, me not being of Hispanic origin or really understanding that that was what was supposed to be happening, I was less than pleasant to him and let him know that that was unacceptable behavior. And he gave me his cell phone number, and then I got to see him whenever I wanted. So just one of the more interesting aspects of that culture. But on the flip side, healthcare is much cheaper than here, but really good quality. So we were able to go to the capital, to a private clinic that is affiliated with Johns Hopkins, saw a phenomenal doctor, got everything resolved like same day. So there's a great disparity in terms of healthcare access there.
Yeah, but one of the things sort of alluded to there is like Chileans don't place a high value on time, they place a high value on the relationship.
Yes.
So Latinos in general are stereotyped as always being late. Well, even the younger culture, I guess, in the U.S. is too. But they don't value the time because they put a much higher value on the relationship. And so once you become friends with a Hispanic person, and in our case, our experience with Chileans, man, you're part of their family, and they will literally do anything to help you if you have a need.
Yes, and so we have multiple instances of that, but one that is near and dear to us. We had recently moved to this small town, And there was another family who had moved from a town further north, had moved there. They were new to the community as well, and they saw us, and we were the only gringos in the town, and so they were fascinated by the tall man with all of the little children behind him. At that time, we had 5 kids, so we were a family of 7, and they invited us into their home, which does not happen here in the United States. Invited all of us, the family of 7, in. We had a meal together in their little small home, and that just began this friendship that really turned into family. We wound up spending all of the holidays together. They became family. When our last baby was born, they pretty much moved in and provided meals and took care of all my other kids. And so then we got moved. We had come back on a stateside assignment for 6 months, and we moved to a town that was 3 hours south of that town, which was very difficult for all of us. But this family and several of our friends from the town 3 hours north of us came when we were preparing for yet another move in 2016. And they came and helped us pack up our whole house. They helped pack our suitcases. Like, they're there because we were family to them, and the time commitment it didn't matter for them. They will do it. That's what it means. And so we spent many, many, many nights with people in our home until literally all hours of the morning. Every day people were in our home, and so that is a huge contrast between a United States culture that is more time-oriented versus the more relational culture of Chile.
Yeah, and Chilean culture is also very hospitable. So we had the opportunity to do a lot of ministry in the foothills of the Andes Mountains, and for the most part, most of them didn't have the economic resources like we have here in the U.S., but they would literally give you whatever they could to help support you. In fact, one family that we worked with quite a bit, they had chickens that they would raise eggs for the family, and they wanted to be able to give back to our family, and so they loved their kids, and so when those hens laid eggs that hatched, they gave baby chickens to our kids, which meant back in the city, we had a chicken coop in our backyard.
Yes, we did.
But when you go and you visit someone, you're always invited in, and they make time to be with you. And they don't want you to just hear your story and then see you leave. They want to have tea with you. They want to have a meal with you. They want to have avocado and bread with you. And it's just a beautiful experience that I think a lot of times that here in the U.S. we can get so busy in putting out fires or just thinking about, I have to have this done by this time frame. But there, yes, things get done, things do get accomplished, but the emphasis is definitely more on the relationship and the person. And so that's really affected us and how we live out our lives now. And I just would encourage you, if you have an opportunity to visit or go overseas, to go to a Hispanic country, go. You will love the culture there. And even here, Hispanics who have moved to our country, take advantage, get to know them. I think you will learn a lot from them.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and our library website at www.knox.net.